From the center of the universe, Toronto, Ontario, Canada, this is the SDM Show with your host, Rob Cairns. The SDM Show focuses on business, life, productivity, digital marketing, WordPress, and more. Sit back, relax, grab your favorite drink, and enjoy the show. Here is Rob.
Hey everybody, Rob Cairns here. I'm the founder, CEO, and chief creator of Amazing Ideas at Stunning Digital Marketing. In today's podcast, I have my good friend Ross Brand of Livestream Universe with me, and we're going to talk about all things live streaming for 2023 and beyond. Grab a drink, sit back, relax, enjoy the conversation that Ross and I had. This episode of the SDM Show is sponsored by Stunning Digital Marketing, the agency to handle all your WordPress website security needs. Go on over to stunningdigitalmarketing.com and find out how we can help you secure your website so you no longer have an issue with backups, being hacked, or your website being compromised. That's stunningdigitalmarketing.com. Hey everybody, Rob Cairns here. And today I'm here with my good friend Ross Brand of Livestream Universe. How are you today, Ross?
I'm great. Thanks so much for having me, Robert.
Yeah, it's such a pleasure. This is a return appearance for you because you've been on the show once before, about a year and a half ago, and it's good to have you back. Always a pleasure.
Well, thanks, and congratulations on 300 episodes.
Yeah, that has been a labor of love and then some, Ross.
Yeah.
There's been days where it's like, do I have to get one out? And then there's weeks when they just flow really nicely. And you know all about that in the live stream game, I'm sure.
Of course, and it's nice to look back on your catalog now and see all the episodes and all the work that you put in, and very impressive. So congratulations again. I'm really excited for you.
Thanks. I think the power in doing all this stuff, whether it's live streaming or podcasting, and we were talking in a pre-show chat how they kind of all overlap now,
right?
Is that it's the people you meet in your journey. And, you know, people like you, I get to talk with for an hour and catch up with. And those friendships and relationships, they just build from there. And I think that's the whole power of it, don't you?
I think so. I mean, when I started on Blab in late 2015, during that time, it's like my network entirely changed in terms of the people that I'm in touch with, the people that I talk to regularly, the people that I see at events. It just opened a whole different world to me. People who I might have followed on social, but until you really hear their voice and, you know, you talk to them and see them on camera or listen to them live or recorded, it changes everything. And I think it's brought a lot of us closer together in ways where otherwise, sure, I would look at your blog or I might look at your website or your tweets, but the ability to talk to each other and have these conversations online, also, I mean, it's online, but we might call it offline, like in a Zoom or a chat like that, where it might just be a couple of people. Either way, it really does allow you to have unique kind of relationships with people around the world that might not be, probably wouldn't have been possible in a past time.
Yeah, so true. I can remember, and I've shared this story with you before, and probably with my listeners before, but one of the things I'm most proud of is the work we did with kids when I used to do a lot of partnerships with Toronto Police. And a lot of that was in the BMX community, BMX bikes. And
right.
Canada has a BMX rider by the name of Drew Bezanson. He's won BMX park events all over the world, including Estonia. And every time he hit the track in Toronto, the live stream views when Drew hit that track, we'd watch the numbers go through the roof. And in those days, what we live streamed with, Ross, was a MacBook Pro sitting on a stool on the top of a 10-foot ramp with a good web camera. Isn't that something to show you the power of live streaming?
Yeah, really. I mean, you can do a lot with a little bit of technology. You can go a long way, and the technology just keeps getting better and better, of course. And I can't imagine having gone through the pandemic without live streaming, without live video. And again, whether that's live streaming what you're doing or your show to social media, or whether that's a couple of people hopping, or a group of people hopping on a live video chat that they're not broadcasting out to the world. It's just their conversation. Could you imagine had we been locked down for a year and a half, 2 years, and we're not able to see each other on video and have these conversations in the same way? It really, it saved people's businesses, for one thing. Some people who were completely deprived of foot traffic to their stores, they were able to come up with ways to communicate with their customers through live shows, through entertaining shows, through podcasts, through other types of shorts and reels, and all different types of digital media communication that allowed them to stay in business. And in fact, some of them built a bigger customer base than they might have had before, because now they're reaching people all over the world.
Yeah, and it also, if you're teaching, and I have a good friend of mine who's in Nova Scotia, his name is Jeff Brown. He teaches what's called workplace education, and they do it all on Zoom. And to this day, they have not transitioned back into a live classroom. And it enabled people to learn computer skills, WordPress skills, digital marketing skills, online skills, without leaving the comfort of their home. And that is like powerful. And then you didn't even have to worry about the hour they get to class and the hour back to class. But what I'll also say is, I don't think teaching live stream to younger students is actually a good idea. I think, truthfully, they need that in-person interaction.
No, I agree with you totally. But I think for adults, particularly in corporate environments, the ability for them to either do it on their own time, on demand, or in short form, just getting the information they need, or listening to an internal podcast when they have a few minutes. All those things are ways where you don't necessarily have to send somebody across half the country to a training center where they go for 3 days and, they get up to speed on supposedly what they need to know for their job. There are now ways you can incorporate, using digital media tools, that education into their kind of daily work life through short lessons and things like that, and then resources that they can call on when a question comes up, or they need to delve in a little deeper to something that they might not have a ton of experience with. It's really changed the way, companies do education now.
So true. And even you look at the big boys like Microsoft, Google, Apple, their dev conferences and their launch events have all been live streamed now. So anybody, you don't have to be in the arena, can get access to that stuff. And that's pretty amazing too.
Yeah, they become really big events, and then they become material for discussion online for days,
No kidding. Before we jump into your latest book, one of the questions I always throw out there to people in live streaming is, I know nothing. I'm going to start live streaming tomorrow. Where do I start?
Well, you start by picking up your cell phone, assuming, unless you have gear already and you have a setup, you just pick up your cell phone. You have a personal profile on Facebook. I would think about your first line and your last line, and then go live and talk about something that you're passionate about, not necessarily related to your work or your business, but maybe a movie you saw that you loved, a sporting event that was particularly good, whatever moves you, and do that. And you'll find usually people, when they're starting out, getting their first line going in a not completely uncomfortable, awkward way, and wrapping up in a way that isn't totally awkward are two of the toughest things. And if you find that you're just talking about something in between having a written out first line and a written out last line when you first start, you're going to find that it probably goes better than you think it will. And understand that it takes time. So you'll do some of those. Maybe you do 3, maybe you do 5, maybe you do 10. Keep them short in the beginning, just 3 to 5 minutes. And over time, you'll get to a point where you're like, yeah, this isn't so unnatural talking to a camera and talking while nobody's face to face with you. And then you think about moving over to perhaps your business page, some of the other platforms maybe you think about going live on. But I always say start with your Facebook personal profile because it's lower risk. Maybe some friends and family show up. People will be there. They'll be happy to see you. If you haven't gone live before, they'll be curious and they'll be supportive, and you'll have some people probably show up just based on the Facebook algorithm because it's your personal profile and your first time doing it.
Yeah, that's a really good piece of advice. Now, in terms of platforms, and we'll jump in. You've just written a book called 100 Live Streaming and Digital Media Predictions, Volume 3. So this is your third one, and we were sort of talking, book writing's hard work, so I give you a lot of credit for doing it. I would tell anybody who's interested in live streaming, go get the book now. I have both the Kindle book and the hardcover, the softcover book beside me. So I have both.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. I think the 100 experts that you got quotes from bring a lot to the table. And one of the discussions in the book seems to be a recurring theme: Instagram shorts, YouTube shorts. But there's not a lot of discussion about TikTok for some reason. And I personally think TikTok has its issues, being 50% owned by the Chinese government to start with, and a few other censorship issues. Do you have any thoughts on that one?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a couple of reasons why maybe TikTok was mentioned here and there, but it wasn't talked about to the extent that the others were talked about. Number one, people already have established accounts on Instagram and on YouTube. Some of the people in the book are what we would call YouTubers, people whose primary destination, primary fan base, even their primary source of monetization is YouTube.
Yes.
And then there are other people who've been doing Instagram for nearly a decade. And so these are spaces that they've already built up and have a built-in audience. And so the fact that they can go and create that content on those platforms versus having to start from scratch on TikTok means that they may be more focused on it. They also may know that even if they're doing TikTok and having success on it, for people who've never done that short form style of video, TikTok might be a little intimidating, confusing. But people think, okay, there's the issue of the Chinese government and how that's being handled. And then there's the issue of, TikTok's for kids. But when you tell people they can do it on YouTube and drive traffic to their videos or even monetize, or you tell them that they can do it on Instagram where they're already scrolling through a feed and used to doing short stories and video posts, it's a little more comfortable for people, particularly those who are 40 plus, 50 plus, who are creators and might be leery of going to TikTok and what it means for their brand. I guess I don't have a strong opinion on it. I'm doing a little bit of TikTok, but not a lot. I understand the concerns that people have about it. And one of those concerns that I think everybody should factor in if they're thinking they're going to go exclusively after TikTok and just focus that content there is there may come a time when, our governments ban TikTok depending on popular sentiment, depending on issues with spying and different things and different laws and regulation and government. I don't want to get into the whole political aspect of it, but needless to say, I don't think you can be confident that TikTok should be your one platform or your long-term solution for getting your message out there. If creating that short form content is something you think is good for you and your business and your brand, and right now it is what the platforms are prioritizing, YouTube Shorts is one option, Instagram Reels, Facebook has Reels, Pinterest has its own sort of short form video content with idea pins, which are largely video. So there's plenty of places where you can share that material without going on TikTok. But no judgment here if you decide to try out TikTok as well. I certainly did to see what it's about and to learn a little bit what's going on there, because it is TikTok that's motivating all these other platforms to get into the short form video, the short form vertical video game.
Yeah, so true. Short or long form video content, which one?
I think both are part of a really good strategy, but I think it's what you're good at, what your audience wants. If my strength is long form talk, so that's what I'm always going to do some of. But I'm trying to incorporate some shorts and reels because the audience is craving that and the platforms are really prioritizing it. That's where the attention is right now. So, but I would never stop doing long form talk. I just think it's what I like to listen to, and I think a lot of people do, and it's something that's been here for a long time and will be here long after the TikTokification of our digital media dies down some. Like all new features that come along, social integrates them, they push them for a while, and then after some time they're not the number one way to get attention or get connected to your audience. But it's changed things. Understand it's changed things a lot. And these short form videos are entertainment. They're not community building or really social in the way of interaction so much. I mean, there are comments and people reply to comments, but this is really like people pick up their phone and they binge watch this stuff. It's addicting, and it's not the same as going on social and having conversations in the chat with people in the same way you would during a live video or a blog post and that type of content.
So two tips that I like to throw out there is, if you're doing video, is one, worry about your lighting, and we know what lighting causes. And
Right.
two, and this is something people seem not to get, is the audio is more important than the video itself. What do you think?
Well, thank you. I mean, I think lighting is very difficult to do it really well. Fortunately, we have the sun, which is free and comes out most days and provides some nice natural light. If you keep it in front of you rather than behind you, you're doing pretty well. Obviously, lighting can be complicated, but it's very important. It'll make any regular camera look like an expensive camera if you light it correctly, and it'll make an expensive camera look just okay if it's in very poor lighting. But that having been said, there's nothing more important than the audio on the technical side, because whether or not we were doing video right now or just doing this podcast in audio, the value, the information, the thing that people are focused on is the conversation, and that's being delivered in audio. The picture is a supplement to it, but if the picture goes out, there's still a show, there's still content if the audio is on. If the audio goes out, then it's talking heads with nothing to say, and that gets old after about 10 seconds. There's nothing new coming along. So, particularly for this type of talk content, but for almost any type of video content right now, I can't put a stronger emphasis on the value of the audio. If the audio is unpleasant, people will tune out. If the audio is hard to understand, they can't get the message, they can't get the value, they're going to go. If the video flickers, they look away. If, half the people may be working in another browser anyway and just listening to the audio kind of radio style. So I would say you're spot on with your two tips. I think video quality in terms of getting the perfect camera and all that is way down the list of the key things to having a successful live video show. I know that sounds counterintuitive, but it really is true.
Yeah, the point in check is when the pandemic started, a lot of news anchors started broadcasting out of their basements, their home offices. They didn't come into the studio. So their video quality on some of those broadcasts was not what it should have been, but the audio quality was very good with a lot of them. And the lighting wasn't even always the best. And, people are kind of looking at it saying, why? And it was, well, the audio's good. And that's what people are paying attention to.
I mean, there were some where the audio wasn't that good and the video was good. And to me, it was unforgivable. Like, there's no way that people who are being paid a lot of money and have an organization behind them with engineers and all different types of technical people should be using the wrong microphone and be in the wrong situation with their audio. I mean, that should be priority number one. If somebody's doing a news report from their home and you're having trouble hearing them or their audio's coming in and out, you've lost all the value of it. And it's good that the people that you saw put that focus right away on the audio because, again, that's where the content really is, the content that we need. The video tells some of the story with the news, but without the audio, there's no context for what you're looking at.
So true. In your book, you have 100 amazing predictions from 100 amazing experts. I will tell you one of the experts, one of your early editions of the book put me onto was the Nimmons. I love those guys. Mm-hmm. They're amazing. I've learned so much from YouTube from them as I've learned from you over the years. What are your three big predictions for 2023 for Livestream?
Well, when I look at live streaming in 2023, number one, perhaps, is don't rely on social media. You have to find other ways to use live streaming. And that means forming a community amongst your most passionate supporters, followers, fans, and then providing them with a space off social where we can gather and you can offer some premium content and some other types of monetization for yourself and exclusive additional beneficial content for your audience. If you just rely on, okay, I'm going to go live on the major socials and I'm going to grow, of course it happens for people, but it's much harder than it was years ago. And so the goal shouldn't be to have the biggest audience. The goal should be to have an audience where you have a core group of people who are very supportive and very into what you can provide and want more access, more information, more time, more content that goes above and beyond what you're doing for free on the socials or on your website. And that's where your number one monetization option is, I think. And that could be a course, it could be a membership, it could be a subscription, it could be a variety of different types of mastermind types of programs. It could be some pay-per-view content or bonus episodes that subscribers get access to. So you're using live streaming, but you're using it not necessarily in this case to go wide to the public. You're using it to go toward your core audience and be a part of your offerings. Number two, and maybe this should have been number one, is live shopping is the future of live streaming. The place where you will get attention, the place where you can grow, where there's opportunity in public forums is on the shopping platforms. Starts with Amazon Live, but I believe it's going to grow and many more platforms will add it, some social platforms, but also other retailers and big box stores will have their own shoppable videos that creators will make and their own live streaming on their platform where you can talk about the products that they sell and you can earn commissions. And right now the commissions aren't great on Amazon, and I don't know that you'll get rich going live and talking about products, but it's important to do it if you can to learn the skill set. And by all means, you don't have to get Amazon Live to do it. You can create your own show on any platform and get comfortable talking about some products and services, starting with your own. Too many people don't want to do any kind of selling, and they don't really realize that they're already selling because you're trying to get people to listen to your podcast. You're trying to get them to rate and review. You want them to show up when you go live. You want them to head on over to your website. Well, start talking about that in the same way that you would talk about a product or a service online that you're interested in, and whether you can attract a sponsor or you have affiliate products that you can talk about. Integrate that into your content without your content necessarily having to become a pitch fest. If you're doing talk show content, take a break at some point and just talk a little bit about a product and come back, or work it into the conversation. Do it at the beginning, do it at the end. But that's where the opportunity is, and I think it starts with learning the skill set, and then hopefully when more companies beyond Amazon start offering live streaming to influencers and to creators, commissions will get better based on the competition, and there'll be more opportunity. And the other thing is these platforms are good for distribution. Like Amazon Live, I think, has 3,000 creators on it. Compare that to the number of people on YouTube or Facebook or any of these other platforms. So even if you're just looking for a lane where you can stand out because you have some content that is worthy of attention, it's easier to get it on a platform where not everybody's live 24/7, right? But there's a smaller group of people. And with that smaller group, there's a smaller group of people who are really good at it. And so there's plenty of space to make a name for yourself, as some of the people in the book have done using Amazon Live.
Good point. Before we kind of wrap this up, what do you think of LinkedIn live streaming? The jury's kind of still out on that one, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, that's one I've had hot and cold relationship with.
Me too.
When LinkedIn Live first came on, I didn't get it right away. I waited about 4 or 5 months, and I couldn't wait to get it. And once I got it, I was so thrilled. I created shows around LinkedIn Live. I went live a lot on LinkedIn. They were sharing it to a wide swath of my following. My following grew, and the numbers were terrific in terms of the views and the engagement. And then it started to decline after about 6 months to a year, to the point of where it almost wasn't worth it for me to go live on LinkedIn anymore. And that really can't be because of anything with the quality of my content, and I don't mean that arrogantly. I was doing the same show, and I was doing the same show on Facebook Live where views were exploding. So, during that time, why was LinkedIn Live tailing off so much? And then even YouTube Live, which can be more challenging for live streaming if you don't have a massive channel, even that was getting much better results than LinkedIn Live. So that my experience is mixed. I don't know. Are they still in beta? I have trouble kind of figuring out what their goal is, what they're trying to accomplish, what they want to do with it, what they want creators to do with it, what content they like on the platform or don't like. I find there's been a lot of sort of mixed signals and inconsistency. It's hard to understand why one person gets accepted and another person doesn't, or why it hasn't opened up to a larger number of people. All that having been said, the thing that got me interested in the beginning is still a factor, and that is, you're on a platform where if you're in business, people are looking to do business. And if you can do professional content and business content, there's an opportunity. Just like Amazon Live doesn't have the whole world doing Amazon Live, the whole world that goes live isn't on LinkedIn, some because they haven't gotten access to it, and others because it's not a good fit for their content, or they just don't think it's doing anything for their creator brand or their creator business. So, I mean, I think LinkedIn is still an opportunity. I'm starting up going live to LinkedIn, whether they show it to, 10 people or 10,000. I think by being on there and creating content on there, eventually it will be beneficial in some ways. And you have to look at it as you're judging it through the lens of business metrics, not social media metrics. So it's not important if I get a ton of engagement or a ton of views. What matters is, do I get a few people that book a call with me or a few people that become clients? And if I do, then it's worth it regardless.
So true, Ross. So true. So I would I would encourage anybody who wants to learn more, go get Ross's book, 100 Live Streaming and Digital Media Predictions, Volume 3. And while you're at it, if you don't have Volume 2 and Volume 1, I'd get those two because they're both very much relevant. And I think it's a great way to learn from some experts. And it's an easy read. They're broken down into chapters. Each tip is a chapter. So, it's the kind of thing you can almost read like short stories if you choose to. It's available on Amazon in the Kindle bookstore. If somebody wants to get a hold of you, Ross, how's the best way?
Well, thanks so much for the endorsement for all the books. I really appreciate it, and I appreciate your enthusiasm for talking about it. My website is livestreamuniverse.com. You can head on over there. You can contact me through the website. I'm pretty active on Twitter at the letter I, Ross Brand, and on Instagram, Ross Brand 1. So feel free to DM me on either of those platforms as well if you want to get in touch with me. And I'm on LinkedIn, so, just Ross Brand on LinkedIn. So that I'm there too. I might not always be thrilled with everything about LinkedIn Live, but I am active on LinkedIn and plan to be even more so.
Thanks, Ross. Thanks for your time as always and your insights into this amazing field, and you have a wonderful day.
Thank you, Robert.
This episode of the SDM Show is sponsored by Stunning Digital Marketing, the agency to handle all your WordPress website security needs. Go on over to stunningdigitalmarketing.com and find out how we can help you secure your website so you no longer have an issue with backups, being hacked, or your website being compromised. That's stunningdigitalmarketing.com. A very special thank you to Ross Brand for joining me on this edition of the SDM Show. Thank you for listening to this edition of the SDM Show. The SDM Show is brought to you by Rob Cairns and Stunning Digital Marketing. For more information about Rob Cairns and Stunning Digital Marketing, go to stunningdigitalmarketing.info. From here, you can connect to us on social media, go to our website, and even go to the podcast to subscribe. This podcast is dedicated to my late father, Bruce Cairns. Dad, I miss you very much. Keep your feet on the ground. Keep reaching for the stars. Make your business succeed.